In my daily scripture readings, I've been reading about Elisha. And Elisha was a powerful prophet. And he encountered this woman that she said to him, she says, we're about to starve. And he said, well, what do you have in the house? She says, well, we've just got a little bit of oil left, and it's all done. And he told her, he said, go and gather up vessels everywhere. He says, borrow it from the neighbors. Anywhere you can find a vessel, find every vessel you can. And so the house full of vessels. And he says, pour out that oil. And it filled up a vessel. And then it filled up another vessel. And they said, bring another vessel. And they filled it up. And they just kept filling up these vessels. And finally they said, we don't have any more vessels to put oil in. All out of that one little drop that was left in that bottle. Well, the prophet said to the lady, he says, take the oil and sell it and pay off all your debts and keep what you need to sustain yourself until this famine is over. And it was a tremendous miracle. But see, here's the thing about it. Here was a woman in a desperate situation. She had a little bit of oil between her and pending disaster. And the prophet said, give that to God and put your trust in Him. That's a powerful thing. But see, that's faith. And that's to be willing to put faith into action. But you're only going to do that if you don't believe. And I said this other day on the broadcast. He said, the scripture says, seek. You're not going to seek if you don't believe. And so the thing is that in our belief, we have a tendency to put layers to it. I believe this much. And I believe God for that, but I don't believe God for this. In other words, the God that I serve has limitations. And I can only expect so much out of Him. So I don't even bother to ask because I know that God cannot do whatever it is. Well, that's a problem. But you see, to come to that place in our life to where we would cross over that threshold of putting limitations on God only comes from doing what God told us to do. He said, prove me. He said, prove me and see if I will not pour out a blessing from heaven. But I tell you what, that stretches us a lot. Us poor mortal humans. It stretches us tremendously to go to that realm of faith, to where we're willing to cross over from our natural barriers. They're the barriers that we set, not God. We put those barriers on ourselves because we put limitations on who God is and what God can do. So our faith becomes hindered because we can't allow ourselves to believe with passion and a great understanding of the power of God and acceptance of it, and putting ourselves in His hands and truly standing in faith, even in the midst of the storm. Pastor Jack King with the gospel on the radio broadcast.